Hey, startup founders, and welcome to the Launch Code Lessons with Zoltan Vardy, where I share the most interesting insights from this week's mentoring sessions with business to business tech founders just like you who want to build predictable recurring revenues and scale their business. So, this week I touched on two extremely important, I think relevant topics for many of you out there. The first one is related to your value proposition. How do you create a cohesive, easy to understand value proposition when you're actually marketing multiple different types of services to different types of customers? And the second is about how to prepare your sales and marketing organization to scale when you are selling as a solo founder who's responsible for all of the commercial activity of your business. So the first one is in connection with a startup founder I work with who runs a payment management platform targeting companies who want to enable their employees to access their salaries earlier than on month end. We talked with this founder about this following challenge. He is in the process of rolling out another service that falls outside the scope of this kind of core operations that he's been building the business on so far. And this business is related to ID verification. So basically working with financial institutions to verify the data and the salary information for workers and employees. And we went through my standard 5-step value proposition process, and it became apparent that he was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, trying to make two very distinct sort of value propositions work under one statement, and it just wasn't working. And I think that the lesson that we kind of drew from this process is that at some stage, as your business evolves, which is a perfectly normal thing, you might have to create two distinct value propositions that speak to very distinct audiences. The example that I would give for many of you out there that would resonate is, let's say, if we think of Uber as a service provider. Uber speaks to people who are using the service, like you and me, and people who are looking at Uber as a way to generate income, either as their full-time job or as a secondary job. And the way they communicate their value proposition to customers and to drivers is very distinct. After all, for customers, it's all about convenience. It's about gaining access to potential transportation with just one click, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And for drivers, the value proposition is very different, right? For drivers, it's a way to use your car to generate incremental revenue by taking part in a platform that gives you access to customers like you and me with one click. So what we concluded in this discussion with this particular founder is that really we needed to create two distinct value propositions that spoke to each of these individual services. Now, once we went through that process, it actually cleaned things up significantly. And we were able to create a very simple one sentence that explains what problem he solves, for whom, and why it's a better solution than anything else out there. We did that for the second service as well. And then once we did that, then we revisited both of them and explored whether there were any commonalities there that could be captured in a broader value proposition. It's a work in progress, so I'm not sure we got it perfectly right. But as is the case with these type of mentoring programs, it's all about iterative progress going from one week to the next until we arrive at the perfect solution. So I'll be happy to share what the outcome of that process is when we finish it. The second topic that we covered this week in mentoring sessions is related to a startup founder who is basically a solopreneur in the sense that they're responsible for all of the sales and marketing for their business. They have a group, he has a team of 15 or 20 product-focused developers who support his business. And we're going through the launch code together, and the last module is about team and organization. And so we started breaking out that process of how do you build an organization with very clear responsibilities and roles for individuals within a sales team. Now, obviously, when you're a one-man show, you basically do everything. But if you think of scaling as a process, then it's important that you start laying down the groundwork for what your organization will look like at a certain stage. This doesn't mean, of course, that you have to snap your fingers and immediately bring that entire organization to fore, but it does mean that you have to think in those terms. And so what we did was we started with sales, and we broke down the various functions that he would ultimately need. So we talked about the importance of lead generation as a function, about account management, about back office support or administrative support, of partnership sales, so developing channel partnerships to support the leveraging of other parties to help him sell his products and services more effectively. And finally, of course, after sales support or upselling. All of these functions are extremely important. And so we determined that of these 5 functions, really account management is something that he would keep in-house, and that he would explore bringing in some sort of lead generation solution, either part-time or externally, to get that lead generation process going, and that he would be hiring somebody to take over some of the sales administrative tasks, like updating the CRM, like managing the contracts, making sure the sales materials are up to date, all these things. So we set a blueprint for how he can scale the sales side of his business. We did the same thing on the marketing side. So we looked at all of the different functions that exist in a well-structured marketing organization, and we identified things like content marketing, general marketing services, advertising, marketing partnerships, all of these different elements. And then we ultimately decided that right now he really doesn't want to make a big investment in a full marketing team, but he would see the benefits of hiring a single person who would be in-house and would manage all the various service providers that he would be working with centrally. So the outcome of this, and I think the lesson here, is that even though you have a small team, or maybe even if you're just a single founder, you have to start considering how to make yourself less of a central figure in the entire sales and marketing workflow, so that you can ultimately step back and become much more strategic in the way you approach these functions rather than operational. And so we were able to create this, I think, very nice structure and set a deadline for the year end by which he would bring this structure of 2 kind of sales-focused part-time people, 1 on lead generation, 1 on administration, and then 1 generalist marketing person to manage all of the different marketing, content marketing, advertising, digital advertising type of things that would be needed for him to be able to scale his business. So, in summary, for value proposition, make sure that you don't try to cram too much into a single statement, but to create distinct value propositions for distinct products, targeting distinct customers. And second, make sure you prepare yourself to scale your organization. Even if you don't do it right away, lay the groundwork now for what you want to achieve at a certain time, so that you see the path towards becoming much more independent and scalable. If you like these tips, please tune in next time as well, when I'll share some insights that I gain in working with business-to-business tech founders. And if you feel like you need some support to help you build predictable recurring revenues, if you're struggling with the process, if you feel like you need some sort of path to follow in your sales and marketing activities, please reach out. Go to www.thelaunchcode.net. Check out the video, check out the information about the Launch Code, about my background, and book a meeting for us to explore together whether the Launch Code is a good fit for you. Thanks very much, and see you next time.